Hi, friends. Welcome to Race to Rise podcast, a place where we discuss bite sized wisdom nuggets with easy to follow practices to live a better life. I am your host, Mital Patel, a parenting junkie, Ayurveda enthusiast, and an advocate of conscious living. Happy August! Before we even realize it's going to be December 2022 and we're all gonna fuss about, oh, what's my goal? How do I want to live in 2023? And the whole pressure that we get from society to set new goals, new vision boards, and whatnot, right? So, why don't we just start ahead? Because I believe that having a productive tomorrow needs an organized today, right? So we need to organize our thoughts, organize and give structure to our, daily life. So let's start ahead. Let's give a head start so we can, we can just have better clarity. And that way, we know what we actually are looking for or where we're heading and set up the whole roadmap. So today I want to share, and by the way, this is my birthday month, and so I'm super, super excited for the August. It's just a vibe. And I always head start in August just because it's my birthday month. I am very biased when it comes to August. 8 is my favorite number, and I was born in 88. It is just an altogether different energy for me this month. And so I am in so much, just so much energy. Like, I just want to give, I just want to serve. So do not forget to reach out to me. You find all the details in my show notes. Just, reach out to me via DMs on social medias, message me. You can write me an email. So there are so many ways to connect, and I would love, love, love to connect with, you parents. There's a new project that I've been thinking about. It's still in my head, and it hasn't come down on a paper yet. But I think it's going to be this month. Like how I said, I'm going to start organizing it so I can make it a productive tomorrow, right? So I can make it a productive and give it a structure. And I really want to share this whole gifts that I've been holding on to, because one thing, and I really want to today, I just want to have like an open conversation of what's been happening with me. And, because you never know what might spark for you and what might inspire you to make the changes in your life. Because as a parent, we're always on the go. We're always, multitasking. We have so many responsibilities to cover on a daily basis. And parenting is not an easy job. And I really when I say job, I really think parenting is a job, just like any other job. Like, just because it doesn't give us money in return, that doesn't mean that there's not like ROI. There is a return of investment in parenting, to be honest. And it doesn't have to be what our society told us. It doesn't have to be what, we've seen. So, for example, back in the day, I've heard the ROI for parenting used to be that, oh, my daughter is going to be a scientist, or my son is going to be a doctor, or, an engineer, or whatever. And then, they're going to make a fame and name. That's not the real ROI in my world. I really think that my job, there has to be a clarity, first of all. Like, we need to have a clarity of our role, or of our job. Because, for example, let's say we just get a job, we go to a job. What do we get on the first day? We get a job description, right? We all get a job description. We all get a role description. We get okay, what our role is, what my position is, what do I need to do, who do I interact, what are some of those. And there are so many little pieces, like the puzzle pieces, that we put it together, and we make it a successful role or successful position. But it all happens from knowing what your job description is, right? And sometimes, especially in my case, it happened that my job description had to be evaluated every time because I was growing. My position was growing. Like recently, when I got into senior quality control manager, we had to revise my job description, right? So even as a parent, we have a job description. And I really go by that fact that, I go by the job descriptions, and I know that my job description changes and it evolves every single day because there is a new need coming from the little human beings in my life. And when I say little, I don't mean like literally little. Just because we call them little human beings, it doesn't mean that they're not human. They are human beings. They're their own identity. So we have to treat them as another human being, first of all. So when we say little, it's just to identify. It's not to label them, or it's not to treat them that they're little and we can treat them however. That's not what I mean. But when I say little, it's just, I'm for the identification purpose. And so, yeah, we parents really need to come up with our own job description. And in our case, it's not what society has actually given us a job description of parenting, to be honest, if we believe or not. Like, it's, we're like very unofficial, but society tells us that your job description of a parent is that you have to make sure that you're controlling your child, like micromanage, right? You have to criticize your child just because you want to teach them better. You have to correct them all the time because certain behavior is not acceptable in the society. You have to make sure that your child behaves, appropriate, or just to fit in to the occasion or to the event that you are going into. So there are so many things that society tells us, but that doesn't mean we have to stick with it. So let's take this, as an opportunity. Let's just hear these words again and just, hey, maybe this is, this is universe saying, this is the channel. Universe is telling us, like, you need to come up with your own job description for your family, because only you know what works for your family and what doesn't work for your family. Only you know what your kids' needs are. Nobody else knows. You are the expert of your family. You are the expert guide for your child because you know your child better than anybody else knows, right? And it's probably like we all know it, but sometimes the societal pressure and our responsibility and the complex lives that we have to manage, because at this point we are responsible for what's happening inside of us, but we're also responsible for nurturing the human beings that that we're caring for, that we're nurturing, right? So we already have like so much going on, and so it will be so good to sit with ourselves and write the job description, write, and from that job description then we can move on to our goals. Like yesterday we had I went to the spiritual my spiritual assembly, right? We have every year we have our monks and nuns, our spiritual teacher comes from India and they give us like a special discourse, and there's a special assembly happening, and we get special, we learn special things. So yesterday it was for selective group of people who volunteer. So it was for the assembly was for volunteers. And so there was one thing that they were actually sharing with us was like how it's important for us to have clarity of our role, and at the same time it's so important to have clarity of our goal. Because for example, and they shared this beautiful story that I want to share. So there were 3 farmers, and farmer number 1 had a job of digging. Farmer number 2 had a job of adding the seeds, and farmer number 3 had a job of covering up the dig that they just made. And so basically they were doing everything by hand. This was like a long, back in the day stories. So one day, and so they are doing their job. So farmer 1, digs, the farmer 2 adds the seed, the farmer 3 closes the dig. and they'll keep on going. And so one day what happens is farmer 1 and farmer 3 comes, but farmer 2 is not there. He had some other duties to take care of it, so he couldn't come to his work. So farmer 1, and they just went with, they're like, okay, they knew what their role is. So farmer 1 started digging, and farmer 2 kept on going, like, covering the dig, because that's all they knew. They knew their role clarity. So they did that. But nobody planted the seeds. And so at the end, they missed out the whole purpose. So they knew their role. So like, I know my role as a parent is, to model the behavior. My role as a parent to nurture my kids. But if I don't know what my goal is as a parent, what's the point? We're missing the whole point, right? So the whole moral of the story was that it's important to have the role clarity, but it's also important to have a goal clarity, because what happened in that story was they just missed out the whole purpose of digging, and closing the dig was planting the seeds. And just because somebody didn't show up, they just they missed out on a whole step. So okay, they're gonna have to do it all over again, right? They just missed out on the opportunity and so much. And so that made me think, like, as a parent, it's so important, first of all, to understand what's my role. So I really believe that our role, like, as a parent, my role is to model the life, the behavior form, so my kids can learn from me, right? Because I believe that it's not about teaching, rather it's about showing. And so that's what I believe is my role. But then what's my goal? So when I say modeling the behavior, yeah, I might be modeling the behavior like, not self-regulating myself, like, or again and again, like, just yelling, or, just not sharing with them the real problems that I'm having, and I'm just showing them the goodness about the life, and not, what happens when you are in the trouble. So at that point also I'm modeling, but I'm missing the whole point, is that I want to model them, but I want to model and I want to show them that there are ups and downs of life. And it's so important, life is an art. It's about self-awareness, it's about self-regulation, and it's about self-transformation. So that's what I want to model. But if I didn't have that goal clarity, I would have not known. And I would be like, yeah, my role is to model the behavior. So I would model the behavior. But then what do I really want my kids to learn from, right? What do I want my kids, or what do I want to teach them? So I'm missing the whole point if I don't have the goal clarity. So it is so important for us parents to have clear goals as a parent. And so I really highly, highly recommend for you to head start now, because again, for so many of us, this is probably the last month of summer vacation, like for the new school year. And so my kids start school in September. And so this is like a month where we head start everything. So everybody's, start getting into their school routine now. They're all getting, because for last 2 months, it was all about, the summer routine. We have different routines for different season. We go by the season. And so it's important for, us to get the clear goals. For example, my older one is going into the middle school. So he knows it, like, he knows he's a student. So his role as a student is to, of course, go to school and, learn and get the experience and make friends and stuff. But what's his goal as a student? So important. And so if I don't do the role clarity and goal clarity for myself, and I don't model that, my kids won't know what's the role clarity and what's the goal clarity. And so I believe that for me personally, I know that my role as a parent is to model the behavior and, to model the life. And my goal as a parent, I have beautiful goals. And, one day, like next episode, hopefully I will try to share my goals. But what I do to get the goal clarity is first, and this is
what I learned from my coach in my recent coaching sessions, it was all about manifestation. But what stayed with me was the very first time when he shared, like, what manifestation is, and what, how do you set goals, and how do you, because it all starts in our mind, right? Everything, the seeds for us happens, and the seeds for us is our thoughts. And I believe that anything that we want to see tomorrow, it's about visualizing it, verbalizing it, energizing it for us to actualizing it tomorrow. Right? So it's about, for today, what I need to do is visualize what I really need to, like, get some clarity. What is my goal? What do I really want to teach my kids? Or, how do we want to live our life as a family? Or how do I want to show up with the grace for my kids? How do I want to show up and show them that how important it is to live our passions and our dreams? So these are some of the things that, like, how do I want to do that? I want to share my intentions with them. And then, of course, after I visualize, I want to verbalize. I want to share this with them, and then energize it in order for me to see it tomorrow, actualizing it, like actually happening it and seeing it. And so I hope if anything you got out of today's session, please, please, please sit with yourself and understand what your role is as a parent, because we all might have, everybody has a different definition of roles. Everybody has a different definition of goals. And so what is your role for your child, and what is your goal for yourself and for your family? So sit with yourself and get some clarity, because let's head start for the new school year. Let's head start for the new year, because it's all coming and everything's gonna come daunt at us. So why not start? And of course, August is my favorite month, so we're just gonna start now. And so I hope I inspired you to look into your roles, look into your goals, and head start. And of course, visualize, verbalize, energize to actualize it tomorrow. And when we organize today, we can be more productive tomorrow, and we can actually live the way we want to live our tomorrow. That's it for this week's episode of Race to Rise. Be sure to sign up to our email list at risewithmittal.com, and join us again next time for more wisdom about life, kids, and everything in between. I am Mittal Patel, wishing you happy raising and rising.